Oh, hello everyone. I've stated on this channel multiple times that I think that I want to talk about obscure games. Why do you think I've chose games that no one's ever heard of, like this, or Diabolic? I'm gonna talk about that game one day. Just give me some time. It's an adventure game, and I hate adventure games. But whatever. I'll agree that I'm not that well at doing these at times, and I'll agree that I'm not the one to do this. I should be the one doing this. I mean, hell, my friend Sober does that job way better than I could. But the point being here is that I just think I have the heart enough to talk about games that really do need to be talked about, since we can learn a lot from these games of older time. In any case, we're going to be reviewing Riz Road, or Wizard of Oz, Beyond the Yellow Brick Road. Yeah, if you're wondering why that name, I don't know. It makes no logical sense later on. Yeah. Ah! So wait, why is this game called Riz Road? Or how the hell do you pronounce this? I have never heard anyone pronounce this name before. Honestly, if you want to know what the name is or why it's called that, it's Japan. They have this entire system of making up names that have literally no meaning. I mean that seriously. There is a whole gimmick in Japan where they do that. So let's actually start talking about the story for a moment here. And, yeah, it's a really adaptation of the original story, though it's Japanese. I'll explain in a moment. As one of the biggest changes here they made was that now Dorothy's an orphan whose parent died. Japan, can we talk here seriously? Look, I know you love this trope, but seriously? Talk to your parents. But whatever, she's still happy with Toto and all, until bam, a tornado comes out of nowhere and just takes her to the land of Oz. Just like that. As we also meet Oz. Well, sort of. He's just kind of corporeal there, like he's not really there, you know what I mean? As he tells it to go find him on the Yellow Brick Road, or at least the end of it. And also tells it to defend ourselves, since there's a lot of damn monsters on the field. Yeah, this is a jrpg. Yeah, you heard me. A jrpg Wizard of Oz. But tragically, it's not a good one. I'll explain. This game has been touted, or at least espoused, to be like someone's first RPG, like Mystic Quest and other RPGs I'll try to find. But in any case, I really cannot agree with that, since this RPG is not even really that good to begin with. It's in fact an example of a boring one. You see, this is one of those games that really does not trust the player to make any smart moves, as it will auto-select the best thing to do, which is mostly attack and heal when necessary, though that part is really vague, since it will still do it at the dumbest times rather than prioritize just finishing the battle quickly. I mean, like, I don't mind if they do that at the beginning of battle, like, oh shit, they're hurt. No. They'll heal up using one of your rare items, which is just rude. And I'll explain about that, why that's annoying. Honestly, most times than not, you can dictate to them what they can do, but it's not really pointful, because why would you care? I should also mention that this game can be entirely played with one hand. Entirely. No joke. It's because it's the only way to play it through the touchscreen, which it also tells you how to move, which I'll get to later, since that's an entire piece on its own, and I need to talk about that with the dungeon layout. Now wait, you must be asking, what about your other teammates? Are you going to meet them here too? Well, yes. And how do you expect they handle this? No, really. Go type it up right now, because I want to know your thoughts before you see what's going to happen. Because it actually does shock me. Okay, you done? Okay, good. Here's what happens. Instead of just meeting them through her adventure, being like, oh, hey, and be like, hey, you want to come along with me to help you find the thing you want? And they'll be like, sure. No, they'll try to kill you. I am not even joking. How weird is this game is that after you beat them, they immediately join you, and it is just like you're all the best of buddies now after that. And the game really never built on it at all. Though I sort of lie. They do build it, or at least pretend to build it, well, in the story panel, which rarely appear, which I'll try to explain later. Honestly, this game reminds me way too much of the Ratchet and Clank reboot, where basically the story was more there just to exist rather than anything of worth of value or all your time. And that's tragic, because this story and world are interesting. It's just that the story will not give it any sort of time. After we got everyone, Lion and Tin Man, if you're wondering why I call him B Lion, don't ask me. I wish I knew. We met up with Oz and Villain. I mean, look at this guy. He has big ass teeth. He looks scary just by his eyes alone. His hair is doing just something. I don't know. I'm gonna get him a stylist. Stylist? What the hell do you say? Whatever. Point being, he looks evil as fuck. Okay? We can leave that up? Good. Okay, I have been a little negative here, but let's actually talk about some positive. Like the ratios. The ratio system's a bit more complicated because I didn't mention the turn system, or how this turn-based RPG works. Well, you are given 4 turns, though not every character takes 4 turns. A single turn, at least, a minimum. Basically, like, Dorothy and Scarecrow take up 1, Lion takes 2, and Tin Man takes 3. So it's trying to basically balance out these characters, though it really doesn't work that well later on, but it was still an interesting system. I mean, like, do you want to prioritize getting that stronger enemy out of the way now, or do you want to just have a bunch of turns healing up or doing whatever? It actually does create some idea of a strategy, but like I said, since the combat is not going to try to basically... It's going to handhold you through it all, and it's not going to let you think about these things more creatively. Well, sort of. You see, the characters in the game actually have a certain proficiency against certain types of enemies. Dorothy against ghosts, which I originally thought they were going to do the whole parents are dead and they're going to haunt you for some reason thing, but no, that didn't happen. Scarecrow is good against fishes, or aquatic animals, for... I wish I knew. They never explained this. Lion's good against shell enemies, though this is not entirely explained, and Tin Man's good against plant enemies. What's the problem? Well, Scarecrow can't handle the enemies he's supposed to do, so he's basically worthless. Lion barely have to ever fight that particular set of enemies, so he's worthless too. Tin Man's type of enemies is the only ironic thing. You would think they would be the hardest enemies, but sometimes they're not, and the only time these hard enemies ever show up are way later in the other parts of the dungeons. So it's not even worth the time or effort to put him up. Actually, talking about combat mechanics a little more, there is one more mechanic that I didn't mention, and that being the row system. You know, now might be questioning, wait, what row mechanic? I don't have that. There's nothing in the game that says anything about that. Exactly. It's an enemy mechanic, and they are the only ones who have access to that. Why is that? I'm not entirely sure. And the only reason why I knew that is because the game told me through one of these camps. I'm not entirely sure why they had to choose to do that, but whatever. That's kind of like a minor problem with this game, where basically it has some mechanics in here that it will never tell you how they function or work. And mind you, that's not the end of them. Okay, I know I have been, complaining about it, but there are things here that are pretty damn well enjoyable and can be enjoyed. Like the art. Like, look at this. Or I'll put up a picture right here. Just look at this for a moment and tell me, would you not want a poster of this for just how cute and adorable it is? Seriously. It also sounds musically well. I mean, like, damn, this soundtrack is awesome. Honestly, if I could buy it, I would, though I can't find a copy anywhere, so I'm kind of stuck with that. Yay. I did skip over this game's graphics, which are pretty amazing for the DS, though I wish they were on the PSP so it's more crisp and more clear and doesn't slow down. I did suffer slowdown time to time when it did, mostly in the summer area, though I'll get to that area. Though I need to talk about something else now. If you have noticed now by far, you'll notice that I haven't even shown the other side of the DS like I have done for Battle. That's mostly because I wanted to keep it a surprise. That and I really didn't want to show it because it's me more or less just standing around sometimes. Literally, most of my footage is just me standing around. Why is that? That's because they used a trackball system. Say what? Yeah, I have no idea why they chose a trackball system. It makes no logical sense since the game does not design around the idea of using a trackball. And even then, it's still poorly designed to begin with. To me, it's more baffling than annoying. Though I did get annoyed by it because sometimes I wanted to avoid a battle and it just becomes a little harder. Which actually, that reminds me, I didn't talk about how battles are started, though I did talk about the combat. You see, battles are started through walking up to an enemy or them walking into you, either or. And you can sometimes choose to just walk away and just pass right through them. Though, for the sake of my playthrough, I basically kind of walked into every enemy just for the XP. However, this did not prove useful against bosses. Cause, oh good lord, bosses. Bosses are the weirdest design part of this game, bar none. You wanna know what I mean? Well, let me put it to you like this. Most of the enemies are just fodder. They're just not even worth your time worrying about. Bosses will kill you outright if you are not prepared. Bar none. You are dead. And one might think this is where the challenge truly begins, but they're so haphazardly designed that most of the time you're not going to even worry about them because they are just too powerful. Seriously, I had to grind in a game that is touted as easy. Maybe I'm getting bad at RPGs. That is a possibility. However, I like to say that this game's bosses are just shit designed. And that's not even talking about the final bosses. Though, let's get back into the dungeon layouts. These are just mazes. Why are they mazes? Fuck if I knew. And the game doesn't even give you a map, except gives you these signpost things. Which is quite odd, which I don't get why they decided to do that since it takes away from the design aspect. You would think that they would add it just so that it would make it easier for players, but no. God, I hate it when games have big dungeons but don't have bother to add a map. And let's actually talk about them more directly as in gameplay. Honestly, most of these could be taken out and just thrown away. In fact, the summer level, we can entirely ignore it and just throw it out. That is how much waste is in this game, and that's about 1/4 of the game. Well, 1/5, but it's just, it's so long, tedious, and boring. Hell, the final dungeon, well, 2 final dungeon, are very short. They're not even going to bother to waste your time. That is how much of this place is a waste of your time. And I don't get why they decided to do that. You'll also notice that I didn't even bother to mention anything of the story. Or at least barely even talked about it, even though I have gone on record to say I am a loudmouth when it comes to stories. That's because this story doesn't even exist much. In fact, I could just throw all of these into about 30 minutes if I'm lucky. And just put them all there and you would miss nothing. And the gameplay feels superfluous. Honestly, if this game was shorter, this game would be far better. Yeah, that's something I never say much. A game being better because it's shorter. Yeah, get your head around that. So, right now, I'm just gonna go through a bunch of problems that I noticed while I was playing. Or at least things I started to notice near the end. That sort of thing. One thing throughout this game I did not talk about at all was the treasure chest and gear. That's because it was really, really boring. Okay, you see, treasure chests were always strewn around the levels, but they either had jack shit or were too hard to find on their own at times, and you had to come back later to get them. Yes, it is like that. And honestly, any of the gear I found out there could usually be replaced with the gear that you can buy. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the shop mechanic. Yeah, you can buy gear and other stuff at Oz for some reason. And he's like, hey, I know I want you guys to succeed, but fuck you, give me money. It's like, what? You need us to do shit. Are you crafting this shit? Or what are you doing exactly with the money? And it only drags harder on when you know that money in this game is hard to get unless you sell a lot of shit. Which is, ugh. One thing I did notice with that portrait, yes, this one, is where I started to notice that Lion had an actual useful ability. You might be then wondering, what skills? Didn't you say they don't learn skill naturally? Well, yeah, you need to talk to a father dragon, or this guy and his compadres. They'll give you skills, which is odd. Again, but whatever. Point being, he gets the skill alert. Okay, guess what the ability does? And I'm being serious here. Guess what the ability is? The ability is, and I shit you not, is to raise magic evasion high. It is like not even a joke high. Like higher than a kite thing, something. Point being is, once I found this skill was even in the game, I was like, what? Because throughout most of the game, I was using Dorothy and Tin Man, since Tin Man can deal the most damage and Dorothy can heal the best. So why not use them? Scarecrow, in the end, will become useless. You will forget about him mostly, except for bosses who do defense or null drop. But even then, he's useless. Because I found something else out, and this is something that really did surprise me when I found out. You see, remember those stat effects that Scarecrow would be more likely than not to do? Well, they don't last forever or till the battle's end. No. They have a time limit that I'm guessing is about 3 turns-ish. I'm unsure because I really didn't want to bother to test it, nor did I ever want to play this game again. Yeah. How did I figure this out? Well, it was mostly because when I started to notice that the final boss, Oz, oh, yeah, right, he was an evil villain motherfucker. Point being was, he basically started using this one spell that basically rose all of his stats, and he did not bother to tell us that these things were going off. Which surprised me because most RPGs usually tell you if these stats are going down or up or whatever. So you're kind of wondering, what the fuck? And actually, let's talk about Oz as a boss fight for a moment. He is the worst boss fight bar none. He hits a lot, he has 2 assistants that deal heavy damage, and also can support him with healing skills too if you're unlucky. Ugh. What's worse? You have to fight him again. None of the other bosses do this, and I'm just wondering, why the fuck do we have to fight him again? Just let him die. Just let him die. So, by the end of it all, can I recommend this game? No, not really. The game is too poorly optimized to be anywhere near enjoyable. The story is too lacking in any place that actually makes it worth the time to play. Everything else you can enjoy about the game, like the music and the artwork, you can enjoy elsewhere. So, why bother? I hate doing these sad ones where I have to look at a cool game or a cool concept and always be disappointed. Next time I'm gonna play something good. That being, God damn it! Why do I always get people knocking on my door? I live inside a house. This is just my room. Every time, even after I'm done recording. What? Nope. Just nope. Is he still there? Yeah, I think he would have done something by now. I think I'm safe. Let's just hope.